I think one of the main tenets here at the hero's journey is this concept that we are all unique expressions of the divine. You know, the divine energy of life and existence moves uniquely through each of us with this opportunity to have this unique expression. And I think of people as, it's like we're different reeds within wind instruments. Now, obviously, there aren't 8 billion or trillion different reeds, but in terms of how we can uniquely express in the world, I think of us as different reeds within different wind instruments. Right? There's a number of different wind instruments, and through a series of how musicians and technicians create these reeds, we can get different sounds out of instruments. And I think humans and potentially all life in existence, the way the divine moves through us can be unique to us. Ancient cultures have called this prana, chi, the Holy Spirit, kundalini. And I think through our different experiences, our challenges, the way we've met those challenges, we have a unique expression that the universal life force, Holy Spirit, kind of whatever you resonate with, this divine energy moves through us in a unique way. And I think when we can kind of put the story down and get to work and start to remove, kind of the social conditioning and the victim story of why we are the way we are, how things happen to us the way they did, when we can start to go in and explore our unique gifts and what makes us unique, we can begin to kind of find that avenue to self-expression. There are many tools, whether it be mindful tools, gratitude lifts, breath work, whatever it is. There, 12-step work, men's group, therapy, plant medicine. There are many tools for us when we recognize that, okay, now that the next part of this journey is an inward journey, to recognize wherever dysfunction lives within inside me, and then how that expresses in my outer reality, right? How my inner environment has a way to inform my outer reality. So when we can start to recognize, okay, this is my responsibility, my healing is my responsibility, and how I express in the world is up to me to harness and to tweak and to improve so that I can, express my full self, share my unique gifts with the world. And I feel like having certain common distinctions on this journey can really help us, right? Men tend to we tend to think that we're the only ones that are going through what we're going through, or we tend to not reach out for help, or maybe not in these ways. You might ask a guy who's rebuilt a carburetor on an old bike, hey, how did you tackle this problem? Or you might just go on YouTube or get a shop manual and try to figure it out. But our ability to bring in new information can greatly improve, especially when we decide, if my life isn't changing into the things that I would like it to change into, going inward is the start of that journey. Recognizing that there's going to be something in here that I need to tweak, that I need to fix in order so that I can express in my unique ways, right? And we've got this great kind of council fire. We've got this great tribal fire that we all get to come around whenever we want, called the internet, right? You can learn something from someone or teach someone something in Kazakhstan or the Democratic Republic of Congo. Like we have these abilities and these tools now to communicate, both around shared experiences, around successes, failures, and we have this communal fire that we can gather around so that we can share, share this information in a free and kind of universal way. And I feel like if you're paying attention to the world, right, this is kind of, post-COVID, year 4, whatever, you can kind of see, if you can be open to it, you can see certain common trends when you look at kind of what I kind of call the power structures. You kind of see government, you see industry and business, and I think to some degree kind of organized religion. You can kind of see these common behaviors around kind of power staying in where it is, money and wealth kind of staying where it is. You start to see, when you've done your work and you can kind of look objectively at your world, you can kind of see these, greed, which kind of rooted in fear, which is a very kind of low vibrational behavior or place to move from. You kind of see how our tribal elders have lost their way, right? And it's from a place of compassion and leading with empathy and forgiveness and love, where kind of the tribe can start to share the way back to self, the way back to connection, right? So if I'm operating from a place of separation, that's kind of the bucket. You see kind of the greed, the power hungry, the money, that's a place of separation, right? So I'm not feeling connected to the whole, to the tribe. The opposite of addiction is connection, right? When we feel connected, when we have connections, we're not operating from kind of those lower vibrational places, fear, greed, anger, right? That the boogeyman is out there. No, I mean, generally, my dysfunction lives within inside me. Nobody is to blame for anything that I've experienced in my life that I didn't want to experience. I take full accountability and responsibility for those things. That also puts me in the power position of being able to take action and change that. And I think, having these common distinctions around the journey and around how we are unique, I think the hero's journey perfectly frames where we are, like how you understand how you move through transitions, how you understand how you meet challenges. Do you meet them, with your tool belt, with your pencil, ready to take notes and learn new skills and level up? Do you hide from them? Men tend to lean on substance. We lean on busying ourselves and kind of isolating, whether it be spectator sport, hobby, work, exercise, or substance, whether that be kind of drugs and alcohol, or whether it be calories, sugar, food could be one of them. So how we tend to show up for these challenges in our life tend to have, by this point in our adult life, when we're fathers, husbands, householders, we've got a job, we probably got a mortgage, we tend to have these behaviors pretty ingrained. So when we start to want to take a step back and recognizing how we operate and wanting to do things differently, and especially with the creative act, if you have a creative outlet, it can be a way, whether it's a musical instrument, whether you create art, whether you write, whether you sing, it can be, little glimpses in how the divine can move through us when we're present for it. And I kind of make the analogy, it's kind of like if we were exploring the bottom of a lake, or a shipwreck or something cool at the bottom, where you got to take a big breath, and we're going to get these little glimpses, but then we're going to have to, right back up for another breath. How we can kind of access the divine, and whether it be personal expression, or whether you're creating a YouTube channel around your love for Beanie Babies, or your love for cooking and preparing and sharing meals for your family. When we start to have that outlet where we really have systematic access to the divine, you kind of take that big breath, you dive in, and you get to piece that shipwreck together little by little, but then you got to go back up for air. And you start to get a larger picture of, what is this thing? How does the divine move through me? I think it's through bits and pieces. Rick Rubin talked about the creative act and self-expression. He said it's like an offering to God. Forget who's gonna absorb it, or who's gonna consume your art or your creative act. It's an offering you make to God, whether you sit down at the typewriter or the paintbrush every day at the same time, or once a week or once a month. When you sit down to create something, to share something, or to tap in and explore further the depths of self, you're making an offering to the divine, to God, however you see it. And I think having these kind of common distinctions around this journey of self-discovery, around, putting that victim story down and getting to work, and you think, like I said, how do you want to show up in the world? You want to be the hermit crab, you want to be the flower, you want to be the stallion, you want to be the mountain. You think of how flowers and mountains and hermit crabs and horses, whatever, how they express in the world, and maybe they bring joy, they bring pollination, mountains create habitats and recreation and inform weather patterns to a degree. Like how we show up and the way the divine can move through us is unique to us. We have a unique way that divine moves through us based on experiences, based on challenges, based on our origin story. And when we can just put the story down and get to work, put the victim story down and recognize this is who I am, this is how I want to show up in the world, this is how I show up now, this is my A to B. This is how I want to, I'm going to learn how to get from A to B. It's a really powerful place to be when you recognize no one's coming to rescue me, and I take 100% responsibility for my life the way it is. You can kind of step into the hero in your own. You can recognize you're the protagonist in your own story. And I think recognizing that we're like the unique reeds in these wind instruments. No two the same. The way we express, the way the divine expresses through us is 100% unique to us. And that can be our gift, and that can be our why when we choose to go in to clear out that dysfunction and show up differently in the world. And as a better example for our tribal leaders who've clearly lost their way. Oh, but it's with compassion, understanding, and forgiveness that we approach them, not with, you can't meet that with anger and frustration and violent revolution. It's from a place of love and forgiveness.